Hi, my name is Tommy Kelly. Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I was sent a special message by a request from a subscriber asking about delays and alternatives for recovery and tools to deal with binges and purges. So I've written a lot of stuff down here, so please bear with me and I'll get through it. Well, my opinions is that delays and alternatives are obviously two of the most important tools for recovery from bulimia nervosa and obviously binge eating disorder and obviously variants thereof. Please note that tools are appropriate for patients who have already worked to establish a regular eating pattern as well, which most commonly means eating 3 meals plus 2 to 3 snacks per day, which is the recommended daily plan for the eating disorder recovery and obviously binge eating and bulimia nervosa. For many patients with eating disorders, binges and purges typically follow negative emotions, as you well know, such as anxiety, sadness, anger, or boredom. Exercising a delay means when you noticing a surge in negative emotion, try to stop it. Wait and manage that emotion through another means of whatever way you can focus it on. Delays work best when paired with an alternative, an activity that takes place obviously in place of your binging or your purging. These tools, which stem from cognitive behavioural therapy, which is CBT, which is probably something you've done quite often in eating disorder recovery, something I've done as well, are also a component of dialectical behavioural therapy. That is DBT. That's commonly referred to as distress tolerance. I obviously like to think of alternatives as coping skills, and I like to help increase the importance of coping skills, as it is always beneficial to have more tools in your toolbox for coping with the distress. It's basically you're trying to use an urge to binge or purge that was unexpectedly interrupted so you could not carry out the intended behaviour. Maybe you've had planned a binge, but when you were interrupted by the arrival of a family member or something like that, or maybe you intended to purge, but you could not do it, obviously to unexpected lack of privacy or things like that. If you obviously had this experience, did you find that the urge to binge or purge grew increasingly stronger and persisted indefinitely? More likely you found the urge eventually subsided even when you didn't carry out the behaviour. If so, you obviously already had experiences that you'll be able to reference to help you develop skills for reducing binging and purging. Obviously, if not, don't worry, they can still be learnt with practice. Practicing delays, urges and anxiety commonly mount and subside just like a kind of bell curve really when you think of it. During the time they're mounting, they often feel like they're increasing indefinitely, as you well know. This is just an illusion. When time elapses, obviously, and time passes, the feelings and the urges usually gradually subside on their own. So you try and take yourself away out of the situation, something that's going to distract yourself, whether it's talking to somebody, going out a walk, doing some art, some yoga, relaxation, anything that's going to subside and take those feelings away. Obviously, as a person who binges or purges, however, tend to surrender to the behaviour at the point at which they feel most distressed, like we all do in eating disorders. Obviously, near the height of the curve of that feeling, and immediately it starts to feel some relief from anxiety when you do it. The experience prevents them from obviously discovering the anxiety and urge would have subsided on its own, obviously in the absence of a binge or purge. Responding to the urge time and time again reinforces the belief that the problem behaviour is the only way to feel better. It may feel though the behaviour is out of your control because of how automatic your response can become. Behavioural reinforcement then obviously leads you to repeat these behaviours whenever the negative emotions, urges threaten, and then they become habitual. Imagine, by way of contrast, that even time you had an intense negative emotion or strong urge to binge or purge, that you stood on your obviously stood in your head, just say for instance, you'd probably love standing your head because it would always be associated with a drop in anxiety, as you can well guess. A further complication is that after binging and purging, you may feel guilt and shame, like we all do in eating disorders. You feel that guilt and shame about it, and this is what your eating disorder thrives on, is the secrecy and things like that. So obviously as well, you feel self-contempt and things like that. This is one of the problems with maladaptive coping skills, as you can well guess. They may become temporary relief, but they usually make you feel worse in the long run. Feeling bad may increase your anxiety to the level it was previously at, making you feel vulnerable to future binges and purges, and obviously so the cycle basically just repeats. The way to practice alternatives, I would say, is to helpfully to develop a list of alternative behaviours to binging and eating and purging. These alternative behaviours can range from distracting yourself to actively soothing the actual behaviour. It's helpful to have a varied list of your activities so that your options to consider depending on the situation, where you are, and obviously the time of day and so on. For example, is in the middle of the night, just say it's in the middle of the night and you're calling friends on your list, may not be available to call. If you're at work, taking a shower, something like that will not be an option. So you've just got to kind of think of that. Or you're in a crowded place, or maybe out with friends in a situation where your food's involved and things like that. It's best to choose an activity that is compatible with the behaviour you're trying to prevent. Thus, if you tend to binge eat in front of the television, watching television would not be a good option, obviously. For people who purge, see, painting their nails is often a good option because it's not physically possible to purge at the same time, as you can well guess. Maybe doing some knitting, some drawing, some art, anything like that. Even writing, some painting, anything that's going to use your hands. It's this kind of movement that's going to take away from obviously your purging. Here are some of the alternative behaviours that I've found that can really help with some people and did me in my eating disorder, binging and purging. Calling a friend, is speaking away and discussing how you've been and things like that. Anybody you can speak to, even going online and speaking anonymously. Listening to music, listening to some kind of guided meditation, taking a bath or a shower. If you're a female, doing some knitting or painting your nails or something like that. Maybe lighting a scented candle, that kind of aura and smell and things like that can focusing on that smell in the room and things. Obviously, like I say, knitting, crocheting, beadwork, anything like that, painting, colouring books, even pinning on Pinterest is a good thing. Video games, anything that's going to stimulate your mind and take you away from that situation. Puzzles, crosswords, Sudoku, jigsaws. Like I say, going for a good walk, getting some fresh air and get you into that kind of environment. And that's a good thing about nature. It takes you away and kind of soothes your mind as well. Obviously, playing with animals. Animals have got a big role in eating disorder recovery, and there's a lot of support animals at the moment. It's really helping with eating disorders, and this can be a really soothing thing, as it's something for you to focus on. And knowing that you've got to stay well for that animal takes away those eating disordered behaviours, because you've got to get yourself in a place to be able to look after that animal, because you know fine only too well the animal relies on you and has got to be taken out at certain times. So this is a great thing for recovery as well. Even doing some light cleaning. Obviously, you don't want to be doing much if you're, especially if you've got eating disorder recovery, because you don't want to be burning up calories. But otherwise, yeah, it's quite a good thing. Even doing some things like playing with putty or something like that, something that gives you that texture in your hands. Doing simple, relaxing yoga poses. Yoga's had great therapeutic benefits and has been really shown to really help eating disorder behaviours, and obviously it's good for the mind and the stress and things like that as well. Putting, like I say, essential oils or scented lotion, that really gets in, makes you feel better. Some ways to practice delays and alternatives are there. Rather than trying to prevent a binge or entirely, some people like the idea of delaying the binge for a specific period of time and then retaining the option to still binge if they won't fall in the delay, which is not a good recommendation, but this is something that eating disorder therapists do say. Obviously, practicing delaying the binge or purge for a specific period of time, something like 2 minutes, set a timer, do one of the above activities for 2 minutes and then check back in. Over time, you can practice delaying the urges for increasingly longer periods of time, and that way you'll eventually get out of it altogether. Because that's what I say, it's about building those habits up. You know, fine, you're not going to get out of the binges right away, but try and go longer and longer. If you can, go totally without it constantly, but if you can't, delaying it and getting better and better and better. As like I say, eating disorder recovery is not linear, but you really want to stop it right away, but because it's very, very dangerous. Like I say, it causes a lot of electrolyte problems in your body and can cause you to have a massive heart attack with binges and purges. So it's very, very dangerous, guys, and I really stress that. Do not glamorise eating disorders. They're absolutely fatal. It can cause a lot of electrolyte problems in your body. The potassium levels, which regulate your heart, can send your heart into cardiac arrhythmia. Obviously, with binges and purges as well, it causes enamel erosion in your teeth and things like that. It can cause an array of problems in the body. It can affect your liver, your kidneys, problems to the heart. That's why a lot of people worry about putting on weight and things like that, but they seem to forget that a lot of the damage done to your body, a lot of the calories that you're putting in will go to repair those organs and things like that. So like I say, go in longer periods of time. By the time you can delay the urge for 20 minutes, you will likely feel that the urge is entirely past. So try and go as long as you can. You will find that that urge will pass with that length of time. Practice delaying the binge for at least 15 minutes with the goal of preventing the binge entirely and substituting an alternative behaviour whenever you have an urge. Attempt to substitute one alternative activity. If that activity does not seem to obviously be working, obviously try another for your list. It's obviously helpful to keep a record of use and your delays and alternatives so you can see what works and what doesn't work for you. And over time, you may want to add or delete activities for the alternative list, obviously on what you feel is kind of working for you. So obviously keeping a journal of how you felt that day, what worked for you, what didn't work for you, your feelings and things is very, very important. Using delays and alternatives obviously takes a lot of practice, as you can well guess, because the binge and purge behaviour is something you've been doing for a long, long time. So it's an ingrained behaviour, as you well know. With any eating disorder, it's became part of you. So it's about retraining that brain again. Obviously, I say it's ingrained. Using the delays and alternatives will take a hell of a lot of effort at first. So obviously, like building a muscle, if you can think of it that way, you've got to you've got to break it down to build it back up, and it's in the same way. Every time you stand up to an urge and obviously and don't give in, even if it's for a few minutes, you're obviously building up that tolerance to it as well. Over time, it will get stronger. Standing up to the urges will become easier and eventually automatic. Good resources for developing alternative coping skills are obviously Facing Your Feelings by the Centre of Clinical Interventions. So check this out online. That's a really, really good one that I recommend. And another one is a good book that I would recommend if you check this up. I think you can get it on Amazon. Is The Secret Garden, an anarchy treasure hunt and colouring book. It's for adults and things like that. It's a good, really one you want to look upon. And also I recommend in books as well. Goodbye ED, Hello Me by Jenny Schaefer. That's a really, really good book. It goes into a lot of eating disorder behaviours and how you counteract that eating disorder for it. So I hope you like this, guys, and I hope this has been helpful in giving you some insight into how to kind of cope with binging and purging and eating disorder behaviours. And remember, guys, binge on life, purge negativity, and starve guilty feelings. And I'll speak to you all again soon. And remember, guys, binge on life, purge negativity, and starve guilty feelings. Speak to you all soon, and love you so much.